evening, Commonwealth, and thanks for watching the Channel 2 News. I'm Ashley McDowell. Let's take a look at tonight's top stories. A hearing is continued once again for the Commonwealth Casino Commission versus IPI. Also tonight, senators meet to have their first discussion on the 2020 budget. And getting to Minnegaha may be a bit easier for locals. We have the details. In sports, tennis takes a tumble in Samoa. We've got the Pacific Games news. Stay with us. These stories and more are next.
The phone you want now on the best network and a plan that gives you endless data on chat, social, and music apps. Tell your Docomo Pacific rep you want now with access. Docomo Pacific, better together. Some conditions apply.
Ah, the Netherlands. Home of the Stroop Waffle McFlurry from McDonald's. A mix of delicious vanilla soft serve and caramel waffle cookie pieces. But to get one, you'd have to sneak out of the office, dig out your luggage, wait for boarding group 12, figure out what that means, take a train, take a boat, take a bike, and finally order one. Or get to your neighborhood McDonald's now, because for a limited time, worldwide favorites are here. Around the world is now around the corner.
Hafa-day, Tirwami, and good evening, Commonwealth. Today is Tuesday, July 9th, 2019. In court, a hearing is continued in the case Imperial Pacific International versus Commonwealth Casino Commission. In the courtroom of Associate Judge Kenneth Govindo, the temporary restraining order filed by Imperial Pacific International against the Commonwealth Casino Commission has been extended another 10 days, as the current TRO is set to expire today. And IPI agrees with the court's decision.
Well, I think it's very fair, because I think it would be unfair to say, well, no, Your Honor, you have to make a decision today. I mean, he's got a lot of documents to look at. He's got a lot of testimony to review. He's got to look at the law and the Constitution. So, I mean, that's not something you can do overnight, you know, and it basically expires today. So I think it's very fair. And I think 10 days to review this issue is not even a short time. It's not even a long time. That's actually a very short time. So I think 10 days is fair. Plus, most of the information is already available.
CNMI House of Representative Ed Probst filed an Open Government Act with the Commonwealth Casino Commission to disclose Imperial Pacific International's tax information to the public. More evidence was submitted by IPI, and 3 witnesses were called to the stand today for questioning, as IPI is continuing to protect their financial statements dating from 2015 to 2018. Even though some has already been leaked out into social media for the public to see. And in court today, CCC lawyer Mike Ernst stated he thinks the Casino Commission may have been the ones to give that already leaked tax information to Ed Probst. That is when IPI became shocked to hear this information.
Well, I think we were very surprised that the source, well, we really don't have any confirmation, but we were kind of surprised at who gave out the financial statements. That's all. I mean, we just didn't know.
And you believe it's the Gaming Commission?
Well, I'm not going to assume. I'm not going to say. I mean, they said what they said. We don't know. We'll just have to wait and see.
Initially, CCC's lawyer Mike Ernst felt both sides were going to come to an agreement today.
I think both sides are very prepared, and I think we're ready for the judge to take it under consideration and make a ruling, hopefully quickly.
But when Judge Govindo ended court today with an extension on the TRO, Ernst says he has no comment.
I have no comment on that.
IPI says that even though some of the tax information is already out there, they are still fighting to keep it private, so this doesn't happen again in the future.
Please don't just think of it as this time. It's moving forward. What are we going to do about 2019, 2020, 21, 22? And it's not just about IPI. It's about other companies as well and their confidential information.
The hearing is continued until tomorrow at 1:30, where both sides will proceed with giving evidence as to whether IPI's tax information should be released to the public. Reporting for KSPN, I'm Ashley McDowell. The Senate Fiscal Affairs Committee met in the Senate chambers today to discuss the House version of the fiscal year 2020 budget. This is the first meeting held to discuss this version of the budget. Chairman for the committee, Jude Hofschneider, says the House transmitted the budget on June 28th with a $233 million budget projection for 2020, minus all the obligations. The government has about $148 million to work with.
We're right into it. We've asked our legislative assistant the legislative analyst, fiscal analyst, to work through with us on this. It's early, but I asked the members that we're going to work very hard to have a product as early as possible. And I'm looking at probably before the end of the month, we're going to have a Senate product.
Also discussed in the meeting was the amended Cannabis Act. The committee made some adjustments to the bill, and the chairman said they are another step closer to approving the measure.
We fine-tuned the bill this morning, and right now the committee is finalizing the final product, which we'll be entertaining in the next fiscal affairs, which I'm going to call next, possibly Tuesday or Wednesday next week, to review one last time, and then work on the next process to entertain in the full board.
The bill legalizes cannabis possession and consumption by adults and creates a cannabis commission to regulate sales in the Commonwealth. The Cannabis Act was signed by Governor Ralph Torres back in September of 2018. Catching a ride to Managaha for the day or camping out, and you are local, we have some news that you may not know about. Tossi Tours is a tour company here on the island of Saipan that provides rides to and from Managaha for off-island tourists and locals. And one of the benefits to locals traveling to the small island is that the ride on Tossi is completely free, and the boat must always occupy 20% for locals, as provided in the RFP.
The requirement for 20% is mandatory. So if there was a vessel, 100 pax vessel, so 20 seats have to be for locals. If Tossi or any other operator had sold 90 seats and we have 20 locals that are trying to get out, they need to be seated within that public benefit area. And that is reserved without question. If there is no, if there's no need to fill up the 20 by locals because there's not enough, and sure, then whoever the operator is can sell the remaining seats for that specific trip.
Another perk to having a local ID and catching a ride on Tossi Tours to Managaha is that no reservation is required.
The only time that reservation, I say, would be needed is if you want to make sure you reserve your seats, right? So say there's 30 locals there. I mean, if you have a reservation, then of course you're one up than the rest that haven't. But if you come to that vessel and you see that 20 of those seats are open and you don't have a reservation, they must board you. And if they don't, please call DPL and we will immediately contact the concessionaire.
Tergezo does say that the reservations are preferred, though, as it guarantees your seat and helps Tossi Tours know the amount of people that will be on board to plan accordingly. But once again, reservations are not required by someone with a local ID, as it is in the agreement with the existing and future operators.
They must have those 20% of that vessel open, and that is not a decision on the concessionaire's part. That is a requirement from the agreed agreement.
Going both ways, right? To Managaha and
to Managaha and back.
Tergezo says to camp on the island, though, it is still required to get a permit by DPO for safety purposes. It is free to camp, but the permit informs security that you are there.
It's very important, even moving forward with a new operator, and even with the remaining time that TOSI has, that we, help each other out. And if there's any issues out there, let us know, and we would call TOSI, because this is a public benefit requirement. Maniagaha is constitutionally protected as a recreational cultural island. And so that was one of the reasons why it was included in the RFP.
If you have any issues with getting a ride to or from Maniagaha, contact DPL at 234-3751. Reporting for KSPN2, I'm Ashley McDowell. Coming up, a History Lesson 101. We get a sneak peek with a new visitor's clip. That's after the break.
Get your daily serving of 4G LTE data with IT&E's daily prepaid plans. Choose from the best priced plans in the Marianas. Get 1 gigabyte of data for $2.50 a day, or choose a $1.50 or $2 plan. Need more data? Top up. Get 100 megabytes for $1 or 1 gigabyte for $10. Visit any IT&E store or call us to learn more and ask about our prepaid loyalty plan. IT&E. Explore your world.
Winigi PHI Pharmacy in Gofadahi, Ihinim Lomo.
Our complete line of pharmaceuticals and lowest prices ensure you get the treatment that you deserve.
Our compassionate, friendly, multilingual staff will take the time to get to know you, explain your medications to you, and answer any questions that you may have.
Ngere eyor sumaye ukalweres ren, kutsu wayor safeye emal ebalusyu lalyam weres.
Inumin ang inyong gamot ayon sa inireseta ng inyong doktor at alinsunod sa bilin ng inyong pharmaceutical.
We accept most insurance, but in case you don't have coverage, we offer cost-effective generic drugs.
PHI Pharmacy, your lifelong partner in health. PHI, the pharmacy you can trust.
Welcome back to the Channel 2 News. Tonight we preview a news story that will run on the Visitors Channel. It's the prehistory of Saipan.
"42 million years ago, after dinosaurs died and before mankind was born, violent upheavals at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean thrust molten rock up above the water, which cooled to become Saipan. The black mass twisted 180 degrees before settling to where the island rests today, a dividing line between the Philippine Sea and the Pacific Ocean. Original volcanic lava flow rock called dacite can be seen on Mount Achugao. Bird Island is an ancient example of a pyroclastic flow, erupted rock that flowed over and away from a volcano, coming to a stop where it is now, a coral reef growing around it. Saipan sits in the Mariana Islands on top of a long underwater valley that includes the Mariana Trench, famous for being the deepest spot on Earth. Saipan has deposits of bauxite, ochre, sulfur, and iron, but not sufficient for mining, traces of gold and silver, have been discovered. Saipan is an example of a raised limestone island. As sea level dropped, the hot sun burned the dry coral, creating the white chalky substance that covers most of the island.
Chamorros, coming on canoes from the west, first settled on Saipan close to 4,000 years ago. Pottery dating back to that time are the oldest human artifacts housed at the Inamai Museum.
Right here is the Marianas Red Bird. These are dated back 3,800 years ago, basically 1800 BC to 81.
On Guam, a sergeant is arrested for child pornography, and a memorial ceremony is held for those who died during a march under Japanese force. KUAM reports.
Hafaday Sinamai, here's what's making news on Guam. Sergeant Jerry Thomas Guerrero II was arrested for the production of child pornography. According to the Ebay Guam Field Office, they apprehended Guerrero in Barragata with assistance from the Guam National Guard and Homeland Security investigation. The Marianas Child Exploitation and Human Trafficking Task Force assisted in the investigation. Adjutant General of the Guam National Guard Major General Esther Agigi says in a statement that there is no tolerance for depraved conduct. She adds that the Guam National Guard will closely work with law enforcement to root out predators and protect the island's youth. KUAM news file show Guerrero was arrested a year ago and charged with electronic enticement of a child as a first-degree felony, 4 counts of third-degree criminal sexual conduct as a second-degree felony, and 3 counts of possession of child pornography as a second-degree felony. He was accused of making more than a dozen recordings of himself engaging in sexual acts with a 14-year-old girl. In other news, a somber reflection honoring the suffering and sacrifice of Chamorros forced to march to Menengan, where they endured the unimaginable. Chris Barnett has more at this year's Menengan Memorial Ceremony.
It started with a memorial relay run. KUAM proud to take part in the Tizen leg with GPD Psycho Cadets, GCC Criminal Justice students, and the Guerrilla Run team.
Asu Menengan!
Then to Menengan, where Japanese forces ordered 18,000 Chamorros be interned, many dying on the march to the valley. Historical accounts telling the tragic story of those dying being left on the side of the road as Japanese soldiers forced everyone under threat of torture and death to keep marching. While we celebrate the island's liberation on July 21st, American forces didn't make their way to Menengan until July 30th. This year's guest speaker, the daughter of Menengan survivor Lucia McDonald, Marlene McDonald Carbolito.
The Japanese soldiers had some Chamorros digging holes all over the place for them. They were afraid they would be executed and buried in these holes, as they often witnessed it happening before with the beheadings, and they saw bodies without heads in these holes. They were told not to make any sound and not to light fires to cook their food. They were forced to take water from the river, which were filled with dead bodies of people floating on the river.
Carbolito, whose mother was off island for the ceremony, also described how Chamorros felt when American forces found their way to the camp.
To everyone's excitement, they saw that Sandalus come in, the U.S. soldiers. My dad had accompanied was one of them to accompany. He was one of the militia. So of course she was so happy to see her boyfriend, she called him. She thought she was dreaming. He came up, my dad came up to her family and told them the Americans are on Guam and we're here to take our island back. So everybody was so happy.
For Guam's News Network, Chris Barnett reports.
Stay connected via our KUAM mobile news app, follow us on social media, and sign up for our weekly email newsletter, KUAM Digital Digest on KUAM.com. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Tomas Manglotnia.
Thank you, Thomas. Coming up, the latest from the Pacific Games with fresh video. We'll have a fresh sports report next.
want now on the best network and a plan that gives you endless data on chat, social, and music apps. Tell your Docomo Pacific rep you want now with access. Docomo Pacific, better together. Some conditions apply.
Hi, I'm Floria, an eye care technician here at Mariana's Eye Institute.
Eyelids do a pretty good job at protecting your eyes from trauma, but once in a while you can't blink quite fast enough to avoid contact with something like a baby's hand or a tree branch.
A corneal abrasion is essentially a scratched eye. The scratch occurs on the front part of the eye that's perfectly clear, and unfortunately it's very painful. You should see an eye doctor right away after any kind of pain in your eye. Once you get to the office, we'll numb your eye up so you don't have the pain anymore. Examine the eye to see exactly if there's what the cause of the problem is, and then we'll treat you with antibiotic drops, and we will put a Band-Aid on the surface of your eye called a contact lens that will leave on for a day or two until the abrasion heals.
This has been Dr. Dennis Williams of the Mariana's Eye Institute.
So what are you going to do this year? At Gold's, a dedicated fitness studio with a cushioned floor is perfect for group exercise. The cardio room features a variety of treadmills, bikes, steppers, and ellipticals. Fitness machines will help you achieve your goals, and the largest free weight area on Saipan gives you comfortable space to work out. Gold's Gym team is ready to help you get to your goals. Try harder. We know you can do it.
Buenas sports fans. Buenas sports fans, going to the Pacific Games, the NMI knew the competition would be tougher than any that they faced. Our best medal favorite is tennis, but even that got off to a rocky start. That was Sunday evening, and this is Tuesday morning at Apia Park Tennis Courts in Samoa. In the near court, the NMI's Carol Lee, 17 years old, playing on the Junior World Circuit. She was going against Samoa's Steffi Carruthers, a 25-year-old pro with a world ranking. Carol with the point here as Steffi hits the net. Carol gets the admiration of the crowd after hitting this drop shot for a winner. Carol managed to get one set off of her opponent, but ended up losing the match 2-1. NMI coach Jeff Race commented about Lee's opponent.
I know her game style, and I've seen her play over the years, and I think that, you know, she's been training really hard for this match. She has a very, very different game style. It's more of a men's game style with a lot of slice backhands, and really, I don't think that Carol has probably ever played that game style on her ITF Junior Tour before, so there was some things that Carol was doing, Steffi Carruthers, that really gave Carol a hard time. And at the same time, even though the score looks like it wasn't close, it was actually quite a close match. There was some opportunities for game points that Carol missed a few shots that would have completely turned that set around. So,
although a singles medal is out of reach now, there is another medal to be had.
I told her that, you know, she has to learn from this match. So she's still in a learning mode in her career, and she's got to learn to play that game style. And also I told her that it's important that we try and win the doubles.
That's because her partner in mixed doubles is Colin Sinclair. After the NMI got hammered by defending gold medalist and number 1 seeded Papua New Guinea at the beginning of the competition on Monday, Ty Smister was upbeat.
We were lead-off game this morning, and it was a very strong team. We played the number 1 seed, and they played tough. We played tough. My partner was hammering the ball. It was exciting.
His partner and son, Logan, was already looking forward to their next game against Kiribati.
So, tomorrow I'm a bit worried. Kiribati is a good team. Played hard today. They lost to Tuvalu, but they won the first set. They're pretty sneaky in the way they play, but yeah.
This morning, Ty Smister serving to Kiribati. Ooh, they win that point. Tice, the veteran with Pacific Games experience. Oh, he scores a point for the NMI. 6'4", Logan Mister has a chance at the net for the big play, but oh, not enough ups. Tice finds the hole in the defense for NMI score. Kiribati, southeast of the Marshall Islands, the border between Polynesia and Micronesia, scores a point. Kiribati consists of low-lying atolls with beaches everywhere, and apparently some pretty good beach volleyball players too, as they went on to overpower the NMI duo to even their record of 1-1, sending NMI to 0-2. On and off rain at the Apia waterfront made it better to be barefoot than wear shoes today. For the first time, Australia in the near court is in the games with a beach volleyball women's team that looked dominant in taking down New Caledonia in straight sets. The NMI did not send a women's beach volleyball team to compete against those tall girls from Australia. Stephen Goodwin, who celebrated his 18th birthday on Saturday, lost both of his heats in the Ba'a, with the distinction, though, of losing to Kevin Jerusalem from Tahiti, the world's #1 ranked paddler. A 16th Pacific Games report from Samoa. Also today, Kalea Andrew in the singles Va'a advanced to the finals, and that's a first-time accomplishment for the NMI. And also, men's tennis beat the Solomon Islands 3-0. Jinju Thompson and Aiko Watanabe made it to the 200-meter backstroke finals, but neither one did receive the medal. Jun Tenorio had a 6th-place finish in his event. We're going to have an exciting weather, well, just a regular weather report next.
Here's the windup and the pitch.
I don't believe what I just saw!
Hey, go-karters, come early and stay late. We have new summer hours for the Seaside Circuit at Mariana Resort. Daytime is pretty hot, but evenings are pretty cool and perfect for racing. Check in at Mariana's Trekking and you'll be off racing in no time. Bring your fans, bring your friends, and show your ID for a special half-a-day rate after 5 o'clock. And check out our other adventures too, like mountain biking, hiking, kayaking, and off-roading. Perfect for groups, perfect for families, perfect for friends. So go ahead, bring your best friend. Mariana's Trekking, your adventure professional for 17 years. All right, today's high 90, and it was kind of odd today. It was 90 from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. consistently. Wow, constant. 104, the heat index here in Susupi, the low 81, 59% humidity tomorrow. Got some clouds moving into our region, isolated showers, maybe even some thunderstorms. East winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. High again, 90, low 79. Seas are calm out there, 2 to 3 feet. Sunrise 5:53, low tide at 8:39, high tide at 2:17 in the afternoon, followed by sunset at 6:51.
The continuation of 6:51. Thank you, Bob, for that weather report. And Bob, so did you know that you didn't even need a reservation to get
No,
on
when I
home?
went, I called and made reservations, showed them my ID, and I followed all the procedures.
Yeah, well, it's not even a procedure, little do you know. I'm sure they appreciate it, but as a local, you can
Yeah,
just
as
go.
a planner, as somebody who's in charge of it, I would like to know how many people are coming on my boat so I can
Yeah.
get ready and everything. And yeah, so I don't want to have too many people.
Too many,
I don't
right,
wanna
yeah.
kick it, tell somebody they can't go.
But it is nice, though, that 20% is always locals. So they're keeping it
Yeah,
a little bit for us, too.
I haven't heard anybody have any problems.
Yeah, so far so good then, I guess, yeah? All right, well, thanks for watching, and please do have a great rest of your night. Tune in tomorrow night at 6.
Good night.